All right. Oh my gosh, what a game, everybody. What a roller coaster of a game, right? Start off, Kraken, fix the issue of starting slow in this one. Oh my gosh, come out of the gates rocking. That was awesome to see. Totally dominate the first 10 minutes. Maybe some issues towards the end of that period. Let Columbus get back into it, and then obviously in the second, things don't go the Kraken's way. But then you get into the third, and what a comeback! I mean, it was awesome. They continued, playing the solid game, the solid team game that they'd been playing all game. I'm sure we'll talk about that plenty during this. But to be able to come back, tie it up, walk out of there with a point. Yes, would like to see them handle that defensive handoff, a little better in overtime there. Definitely cost them the second point, but overall, I mean, I'll take that after the last couple games. The performance, the resolve the team showed, getting the point in the standings, all that stuff. I think it finishes this little brief stretch of home games off, fairly nicely. And again, after all of the news that came out earlier today about all those players on COVID, Blackwell, Yanni Gord, Riley Shahan, assistant coach Leach on COVID, a lot of stuff. So there was that, and obviously that had us worried going into this one. That is for sure. I'll come over here, see how everybody's feeling. Joshua, what a third period! I know that's arguably as exciting a period as the Kraken have had all year long. That was really, really fun. Brian, 1 point never felt so massive. I see what you're saying there, Brian, because in a lot of ways that is true. Being out of this one for as much as they were for it, to be able to walk away with a point feels like a pretty big win for this team, especially after the last couple games for them. So to be able to come back and do that, I think is really important for this team, really important for them moving forward as well. Striatic almost got Elvised, refused to be Elvised. Yes, he played an amazing game, a hell of a game. That dude's outstanding. Kraken, again, like I was saying, they dominated that first period. They had so many amazing shot chances on him, and he just shut them down until he just couldn't anymore, basically. So, in that sense, you got to give the Kraken some credit for keeping pressure, keeping that sustained pressure all game long, not giving up, especially in that third period where, some teams would have given up. And maybe in the past, this team would have been a team that might have given up a little bit going into that third period. But on this one, it was, they got it done. They got a point. Hunter, I still can't believe we really picked Gavin Bayruther, who didn't even re-sign, instead of Max Domi. Yeah, yeah. Me and RJ talked about that at the expansion draft at the time. Interesting decision there. Obviously, it basically ended up being a waste of a pick. Now, look, I know that, obviously we've seen the Kraken, right? It's a really deep roster, not necessarily room for everybody. No guarantee that Max Domi would have stuck around even if they had him, right? He might have been a waiver casualty, a la Bastion for the Kraken. That being said, he might not have been with Columbus, and he might not have been feeling it the way he was tonight in those situations. So yes, it's still a head scratcher. There was a couple of those picks from Francis that were a little bit of a head scratcher. And that one continues to be. Hunter, I agree with you there. Michael, y'all can keep making excuses for Grubauer if you want. The reality is he's been garbage this year, lost his game for them, period. Yeah, I mean, he continues to be leaky, that's for sure. I mean, 2 of those should have had, no question about it. It's it's tough. I mean, we don't want him to realistically be this bad, and we've seen him go through at least a brief stretch where he wasn't this bad, and the Kraken were winning games, and he looked like the Vesna caliber guy he was last year. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is the leaky goals keep happening, and at the end of the day, there's not much you can say for that. We're what, 27 games in, and you still got that save percentage. At some point, the sample size is large enough to start having it be a reflection on you. I think the defense failed him in a couple, chances in this one. That is for sure. Um, but yes, no, I agree with you, Michael. At some point, Grubauer's got to just have these. Like, goalies have to have these. NHL goaltenders, starting goaltenders, they got to have some of them. There's, that's just the way it is. Ty Donskoy. Oh, never mind. I was so excited. I was too. I thought that was Donskoy's goal. I was so excited. I wasn't quite literally jumping up and down, but I was, really, really excited. Definitely sat up pretty straight in my seat there for that one. And then the replays and it gets credited to Schwartz, as it should have. It went off of him, but oh my gosh, it was like and oh, never mind. As you put it, Ty. Oh, that one was rough. Joshua Jojo getting Grubauer's way on the overtime goal. Jojo was playing back kind of far. He was pretty conservative. I don't know that he totally got in his way. Realistically, that was just a horrible defensive handoff from Alexiak to Wenberg. Clearly, they were not on the same page as to who was to stick with who. I think if Alexiak sticks with Jake Bean, probably uses his reach and can really pressure Jake Bean, even if I don't know if Jake Bean even gets a shot off, much less one that is one where he has time, space, ability to pick his corner, all of that. So maybe Johansson screened Grubauer a little bit on that one, but in my mind that is all on that defensive handoff from Alexiak to Wenberg that let Bean have the time and space to step up and pick his shot like that and just beat Grubauer. Again, that's a tough situation if you're Grubauer. That isn't one of the goals that I would say is totally on Grubauer. I think that's a team letting him down one. The defense had a couple more breakdowns in this one at times. Obviously, Domi had that breakaway one, but yes, I mean, it was, again, when it comes to the goals in this one, Grubauer had some soft ones. Some other ones were on the defense, and I think that overtime one is in my mind, heavily on the defense. Ty, no one even challenged the last shot. Yeah, like we said, it was just, they just let him have it. And if you're going to let NHL players have that shot, they're going to score. That's the bottom line. You give anybody who has made it to the NHL these days, like, it's not, it's not the 80s where, okay, maybe you can let some goon have that and they're all playing with wooden sticks and all that stuff, right? These days, everybody is talented enough. You give them time and space, the ability to walk in on a goaltender like that and just pick a corner, they're going to do it every time. And that was a total defensive breakdown, that overtime goal. Scott agreeing with Michael on Grubauer. And then Michael, there's a reason Gruby is worst in the league statistically in both expected goals and save percentage, and it's not bad luck or teammate blunders. I think some of it's on Grubauer. Again, in this game, right? We know through the heart of that losing stretch how many of those goals were odd man rushes and breakaway attempts. Again, Grubauer should come up with some of those. Some of those were leaky, but again, you also shouldn't be facing, 3 or 4, sometimes 5+ a game of some of those. So again, I'm not 100% backing Grubauer on this one, but I do think that part of it is the teammate. I think with all goaltending, good and bad, you have to incorporate the defense and the team in front of the player, in front of the goaltender as well. That's just my opinion. Hunter, I think it's time to start considering trading our assets. Let's be realistic. This team was always looking like being outside of a playoff spot. # tank for Shane. I don't know. I thought on paper, and I think just about everybody on paper, this division looked a lot worse than their, majority of the teams are playing right now. And the depth that the Kraken had, I think we thought was going to, equal more points in the standings than it has, right? I think we thought it was going to gel maybe a little better than it has. Things would have settled down. Certainly that the goaltending was going to be better. I mean, remember, and this wasn't just like RJ and me, right? That we're talking about Grubauer and Drieger being like a top five goaltending tandem, top three even. That was something, Greg Wyshynski was talking about at ESPN, and you had people at Sportsnet talking about that. Like, the goaltending was supposed to be, the thing for this team, the defense and the goaltending. And really, what we've seen this year is that the goaltending has not been up to snuff. Drieger's been hurt probably the entire season. I don't know that he's ever actually been healthy, even when he's been playing. Grubauer, we've been talking about him tonight. And then the defense, it's been kind of a musical chairs as far as where everybody is. Everybody's constantly shuffling in and out of the lineup. You have the whole Borgen situation. So I think, I don't know that realistically the team was always looking like an outside shot at making the playoffs. I think for a lot of people before the season started, this seemed, pretty solidly like a playoff team, given the situation both for them and the rest of the division. But yes, it's going to be hard to make the playoffs now. The division is much tougher than anybody thought it was going to be. Certainly a lot deeper. Everybody's playing well in it. And, if the goaltending is going to continue to be this problematic throughout the course of the season, it's just going to be really, really hard for the Kraken to string together long periods of success. We've seen them do it though, and we've seen them do it against really good teams. But yes, it is an interesting situation. I don't know that you need to start the fire sale now though. Um, Again, look at St. Louis when they won the cup, right? They were dead last in the whole NHL, I think, in January. So it's not like it's unprecedented to go on a run from some point around here and potentially, at least get into the playoffs. Scott Grubauer is number 46 goalie in the NHL save percentage. The eye test confirms his softness. Got to go with Drieger and try to get him hot again. I agree with that. Like I said, though, I don't think Drieger's been 100% yet this year. I hope he is now. Obviously, next set of games are back-to-back night games, so each of them are going to get a start. Maybe you start. It depends on which game you think is more winnable between San Jose and Anaheim, and your philosophy as to, well, let's just try to get a split here. Let's just try to walk away from these two games with 2 points, kind of thing, right? Do you save whichever goalie you think is better for the easier game, or vice versa? We saw the Kraken not go with that approach earlier in the season, so we'll see. And I'm not even sure which game. I guess the Ducks game is less winnable. They're slightly better than the Sharks right now, I think. I mean, well, they are in the standings, but I think eye test wise, certainly the scoring and stuff. Although Gibson went down for them today, so we'll see what that means when we play the Ducks next week. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure. Superfly, responding to Michael, the first three goals were absolute bad defense, and the overtime goal was Johansson first running into him and then screening him as well. Still, he's not been good this season. Yeah, it's kind of what I've been saying too, Superfly. Let's see, Daniel. I'm ready to play the song Celebration when the Kraken have finally fired Dave Hackstall. Daniel. Yeah, I don't. Again, we certainly gave Hackstall, some grief during the losing streak. Things changed after that, though. We saw their offense, evolve a lot. We saw them start games fresh before these last two, before the two before tonight. I think he made changes. The power play started working and stuff. I don't know that Hackstall's the problem at this point. At some point, again, it's on execution. It's on goaltending. Grubauer's got to stop being leaky. Like I said, we're 27 games in now. At some point, you gotta start, coming up with some of those. Autumn, Grubauer's save percentage isn't the issue. It's his goals saved below expected is worst in the league. That is, yes, that's a better stat to be looking at for this specifically. Striatic, the Domi non-pick in the expansion draft was a head scratcher. I hope we get the story on that from Francis one day. Even if you flip him for a draft pick, it's better than what happened. Yeah, I mean, there was some rumors, I guess, about maybe it being a personality issue. I don't know. I'm with you. If even if you think that it is, and you don't necessarily want him on your team, you should been drafting the people with the most value and making moves. That's what Vegas did, right? Like that's what everybody would do. So I agree with you there, Striatic. Autumn, but what a game! Yes, I mean, not to lose sight of it in all that stuff, right? They came back. They came back from a 3 goal deficit, tied it up, sent it to overtime, got a point. Um, that's huge for this team. That's huge after the last 2 games that we just saw from the Kraken, right? Where they basically got, you know, they got pretty bad. Those were not good games at all. This one, it was a total team effort. All the forward lines were playing 200-foot games. They were back checking hard. They were really helping out. That was what was so key to them dominating the first 10 minutes of this game. You could tell it was a point of emphasis. We are not going to start slow again. We're going to come out. If the defense is having issues, forwards, you guys got to help them out, right? A lot of the goals that we've seen really throughout this season, right? That either goaltender has allowed, they've been coming from the slot area, guys that are kind of uncovered. They have some time and space there, right? They're really squared up. Some of that, that's in a lot of ways. If the play had started behind the net or something like that, the defensemen are kind of engaged with people already. That's on the forward a lot of times. Sometimes, you know what I mean, or a lot of times, not a lot of times. Sometimes, a lot of times, right? Like center's responsibility is to cover those guys. You know what I mean? And so I think back checking was kind of a sneaky problem for this team. And so, even, especially on a night with Gord out and Blackwell out and Shahan out, who, Shahan's been playing some really good defense for this team. Without those guys out, I think, that's to back check the way they were to be able to, kind of push Columbus more to outside chances, during the non-on man rush opportunities and stuff, was good. And so I liked that from the Kraken a lot. That was something that really stood out to me. That and their just ability to be aggressive on the transition, entering the Blue Jackets zone. They were just fast. They went with speed. They made passes. They were feeling it. And tonight I don't think we can say that there was chemistry issues between the forward lines, because all 4 forward lines looked good to me, especially the bottom 2. I thought both of those lines were fantastic tonight. The bottom 6 for the Kraken. Wow, what a game. Disappointed. That's from Brian. Yeah, I mean, the result is not great, but I still think to get a point out of a game that you enter the third down by 3, it is not the worst thing in the world. That is for sure. For sure. Ferris, missed opportunity. Schwartz not passing to Eberle in overtime. Way to fight back, boys. Yeah, a little bit maybe. It's always tough in those situations because, maybe you make the pass and it's not a good pass and nothing comes of it, right? It's one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda type things. I try not to get too on anybody in that. It's hard to say what Schwartz was seeing from his vantage point. Obviously, he thought he had it and he didn't. So yeah, but yes, in general, we've been wanting them to pass more in certain situations like that. Autumn, agree with Striatic. Even having Domi not on Columbus would have given us the win here. So bizarre to have 7 million in unused cap space. I think it's okay to have the 7 million in unused cap space. It gives you some flexibility moving forward. Francis did say all along, right? It's like a 3 to 5 year plan kind of thing. But yeah, and again, you could probably not room for Domi on this roster anyway. Like, I don't know where he would be. So you're talking about potentially losing him in waivers. But yes, again, you might not lose him to Columbus and then he's not here for tonight. But that's opening a whole can of parallel universe worms. So we'll try not to fall down that one too much. Let's see. Second line in overtime was trash, missing Gord. Yeah, that's definitely the situation you would want Yanni Gord out there, is in 3-on-3. His speed, his hustle, his creativity when given time and space that 3-on-3 gives you. Yeah, that's one where you want Gord out there. Aaron, loved the point, but the defense on the Jackets only rush in overtime was brutal. Just gave up the blue line and then get them set up with no resistance. Yeah, it was terrible. That play was terrible all the way around. You guys have been mentioning Johansson. I brought up Alexiak and Wenberg not really, communicating there, not knowing what the other one was doing. It was just all the way around a bad play. that was kind of destined to always be a goal for Columbus. Grew looking like a backup goalie with those numbers, but he's on a massive contract that's from Hunter. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the contract that's it's not the play that they were expecting when they signed him to that deal. That is for sure. Dunn really not living up to the 4 million. Offensive upside is really not worth the defensive shortcomings anymore, giving up too many goals, high chance opportunities. Yeah, but he also tied the game tonight, right? Like, it's it's hard. I don't think 4 million is excessive to pay someone like Vince Dunn. I really don't. The offense that he can bring from the blue line in certain situations like tonight, I don't think that that's too much to be, to have committed to somebody like him. Um, if you look at defensemen around the league that can put up similar point totals and perform at kind of similar levels, it's right in line with those contracts. I don't think it's too excessive. I agree. He picks at times the wrong time to pinch up. Uh, that has been a massive problem. A lot of the odd man rushes this season have been on Vince Dunn. I like that they've paired him with Adam Larson. I feel like they work well together. Larson generally does a good job of getting back and can help cover for those opportunities. And I will say, really the last 2 or 3 weeks, Vince Dunn's defense has improved a lot. Again, is he the best defender on the team? No, he's not. But he's playing a lot better than I've seen him play, even back in St. Louis at times with his defense. So he's using his body a little bit more, trying to gain position on forwards and stuff. Like you can tell, he's working on stuff, and I think that's one that if you give him some time, it'll come. But yes, maybe choose some better opportunities when you're pinching up and so forth. Let's see. Jackets 6-1 in overtime. Kraken 0-3 in overtime. Are some teams just built for 3-on-3 and shootouts? Yes, some are. I don't know that any GM would specifically build their team for it, just because you can't ever count on getting to overtime in the NHL. But yes, I mean, teams in general, teams that have more skill guys and faster guys, guys that work, creative, that work well with time and space, they're always going to thrive in 3-on-3 where everything is fast. Everybody's got time and space. That's just the way it is. And then the skill guys, they're going to perform well in a shootout because they've got skills, right? The guys with great hands, good shots, can pick corners, all of that stuff. They're just going to do well. So I think it's one of those things that, yes, the Kraken are built more as a complete team with a lot of depth, but maybe don't, as we've all been talking about, don't have that super high-end scorer guy. Like I was saying, Yanni Gord kind of would thrive in 3-on-3 overtime. Unfortunately, wasn't there tonight, given his style of play. But so yeah, some teams are built for it, but again, I don't know that they're built for it intentionally. I think it's just kind of a byproduct of acquiring certain types of players. Sergeant Pickles, well, dang, I know it's an improvement over the last 2 games, but I really believed we had this one after the comeback. I did too. I thought all the momentum was going. They kind of survived a last, minute or two push from Columbus there. A lot of time spent in the Kraken zone. Wasn't too thrilled with that. But yes, you felt like going into overtime, it felt like, hey, this could maybe be our night, and we can get this done. And just an unfortunate play. A bad play, whatever you want to call it. That one's yeah. Let's see. Got a super chat coming in. Let me scroll down for that. Wow, everybody's been really active in chat tonight. Love to see it. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Mark, for the super chat. Thank you for continuing to show up and talk about this team, even though they've been disappointing of late. We appreciate your time and expertise. Yes, no problem. Glad to be here with everybody. It's been a really fun experience. I've never so religiously watched one team's play, and so it's been kind of fun. I don't know that I've ever watched the first 27 games for one team before, the way I have for the Kraken. So it's been really interesting, and I love talking with everybody. I love doing this. It's been really fun, and it's been fun to see all of you guys, kind of become a community and all that stuff with us. It's been really exciting. And speaking of us, RJ's ready to go. I know it was probably Zoom again for the media availability, so I'm gonna quickly get over there and then we'll start burning through the chat section, because I know you guys have been very active tonight. So 1 second, everybody. All right, RJ, you got some quick thoughts on that one?
Oh man, that was I had the story all written in my head basically, this amazing comeback and capping it off. And I mean, it was just a crazy day from the start. I mean, you get in the morning and all the COVID stuff, and you hear all this pressers are going to be on Zoom, and then I mean, just what a wild day, what a wild game. Um, I want to say first of all, like the crowd brought their A game, like
Mm-hmm.
from the start, even before the down 4-1, all that stuff. They were just in it from the start, and again, it felt like, oh, geez, it's going to be another game where the crowd comes out fired up, ready to go, and it's just going to be one of those slow, suffocating games where they're going to have nothing to cheer for. So I'm just so glad the Kraken managed to come back and really give them a chance to get into the game because I mean they were ready to do so, and they were able to show it too, which
Mm-hmm.
was great. And also just really important to get a point in this one.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that certainly after it was tied with a few minutes to go. I mean, that's one where you look at bad teams will find a way to lose that point and not get it to overtime. So, that's another thought, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think a point and just the comeback and everything after the last couple games really big. Brian in the super chat after you joined shortly after, my 3 stars: Dunn, McCann, and Tanev. Dunn's goal and his hustle to cover for Larson late in the third was huge. Tanev was a PK warrior. I mean, those are pretty good 3 stars for this one. Might throw Geeky in there
I
myself.
would certainly throw Geeky in there. Well deserved goal. I mean, just he's been doing so much. A lot of the little things that don't really get noticed. About time he got rewarded on the score sheet.
Yeah, and as always, thank you so much, Brian,
Yes, thank you,
for the
Brian.
super chat. A lot of talk, as with Nathan here, latest one to add on about the Kraken not drafting Max Domi, the expansion draft. Obviously, hurt us a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I may have pushed that one a little bit on Twitter because it's one of those draft grades that was probably my lowest. I think I gave them an F, and I don't know why you don't take the limited risk on a player like that. I mean, we saw what he can bring tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reward. We talk about hashtag clone Jared McCann. You can't do that, but maybe making that pick is one of the closer things you can do just to provide that scoring there. I mean, he's almost a point per game player this season.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard. Team is so deep, you have no idea how it would shake out as far as waivers and all that stuff. Anyway, it's a
Yeah.
it's a tough one. Lots of talk about Domi there.
I'm
Autumn.
so glad Geeky scored if Jake Bean was going to score. The other expansion draft
Yes,
thing.
exactly. Autumn, the extra cap doesn't roll over like the NFL, right? Yeah, no, the extra cap
No, it
space
does not.
doesn't roll over. What was Johansson doing on the overtime goal? Also, shouldn't Geeky be taking faceoffs in overtime since he's the best at faceoffs, especially in the Kraken's own zone? That's from the Sandpipes.
Okay, first off, I don't know what Johansson was doing. I mean, he was screening his own goalie, is what he was doing. Grubauer looked right at him, afterward. It was
Well,
and just been, yeah. I mean, what was he trying to do? Maybe you saw got a better look at it than I did.
no, I mean, to be honest, I was so focused from the moment it happened, and then even on the replays, I was so focused on the Alexiak Wenberg handoff and how horrible
Yeah,
that
no,
was that I didn't even
that went
see the
poorly.
Johansson thing.
It was a mess. All three guys, really.
Yeah, it was a team effort on that one. That is for sure. Um,
And then Geeky,
yeah.
because sometimes teams will bring out face-off specialists in overtime. You don't see it a whole lot. I don't know. Maybe we will see it a little bit going forward. They already did that in regulation
Hmm.
in their last game, so maybe we will see it a little bit more.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think I don't know that Geeky's gonna see much 3-on-3 overtime
Yeah, the
time.
idea is he comes on, wins the face-off, gets a quick change when they have possession.
Yeah. Let's see. Stratic book is out on Grubauer. High glove is increasingly. It's increasingly obvious teams are knowingly exploiting him there. The first goal was a perfect shot, but on an instant read, shooter knew instantly where to go. Yes, my old friend Bjorkstrand from my
Yeah.
Winterhawks days.
Yep. There were a few Bjorkstrand jerseys in the building tonight. I think there were some Winterhawks fans that were
Yeah,
happy to see him around here.
yeah. I mean, he was great for us. No question there. But yeah, not a fan of his tonight. But yes, as far as the book being out on Grubauer, yeah, I think that's becoming a thing. Again, book's
Yeah.
kind of out on most goaltenders around the league. Um,
Yeah, if you played long enough, which he has. Yeah, I would have liked a better effort from Grubauer tonight. I don't think he did terrible, but I would like to get a few more saves from him. Hackstall hinted as much. Maybe we'd like to get one of those last two between 3 and 4.
yeah. Michael, enough about being grumpy about Grubauer. These guys showed some crazy fight tonight. Good hustle in first and third. Not sure what happened in the second. Yeah, it was just an inverted performance of what we're used to seeing from them.
I know, right? And at least they have two good periods instead of just the middle one.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, I'll take that more nights than not. I'll take a strong start and a strong finish over just doing well with the long change. Joey, if I hear JT on Root Sports say, "Well, we got a point," I'm gonna scream. 0-3 in overtime. I didn't know the goal of the game is to lose in overtime. I mean, that's your whole thing with this whole loser point thing, right?
Yeah, I don't think they should get any points from those, but yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't want teams playing for overtime. Is the bottom line. You
Yeah.
want teams trying to win in regulation. That's your argument anyway. Striatic. Let's see, Autumn. You don't need to convince me on the Domi thing. Mystifying non-pick from Francis. Yeah, lots of Domi talk and Grubauer talk
Sorry,
earlier on.
I probably got that going too much on Twitter today, but thanks everyone for indulging me.
Alex, it's the NHL. If you aren't getting the Bettman parody points, you aren't trying. I like that one, Alex. Thanks for
I
that.
like the name.
Yep. Let's see, Autumn. We're saddled with Grubauer for the next 5 years, so we need some copium for him. Well, I mean, I don't know that again that we're saddled with him for 5 years. Like again, it's the I don't know. What do you
I
think,
don't know.
RJ?
I think he's
I've talked
definitely
about it
shown
a
over the
lot.
course of his career that he's better than this. And that's not to really defend his level of play this season because it hasn't been good. I mean, you're not going to sugarcoat it. It hasn't been good. But he's shown reasons to believe that certainly over a 5-year stretch that he can return to form that's better than this.
For sure. Valentina Wenberg hesitated at taking the very first shot. I have to wonder if he had just taken it, if that would have changed the tone of the game. Story of my life.
I know, right? Yeah, all the Blue Jackets fans here recognize that.
Yes. Hunter, I find JT very annoying on the broadcast. I think he's still just new to it. Obviously, I haven't been shy. I was a JT Brown fan before he got this job. But yeah, I mean, I think they're I think it's just about getting comfortable, being more confident too. I think that's a lot of it. There are times where Forsland will kind of stop and give him a chance to break in, and he's starting to do that more now. But yeah, I think it's just he'll
Trying to
get
rack
better.
my yeah, and trying to rack my brain. I can't think of a real good example of a color commentator who was, I'd say, particularly good in their first season.
Oh,
I can't think of one.
I thought you were gonna say in general, and I was like, yeah, I can't either.
There we go.
Anyone who's ever watched a sporting event on TV with me knows I'm not a fan of broadcasters or color commentators most of the time. Which soft goals are you talking about besides the fourth? That's from Superfly. So obviously the fourth one, that was the one that was super leaky through his legs, right?
Yeah.
And then what was it? Was it the third goal? That was the other one that I thought you could have had.
It was probably the third because Hackstall was talking about the last two in the period, and those would have been it.
Yeah.
Are we letting him off the hook for the first one?
Yeah, I mean, again, you give somebody that much time and space. It's like the Jake Bean one too. Like, I don't know. They're gonna score at the NHL level on that.
Yeah. It's one of those you'd like an elite goalie to get every now and again, but certainly you can't count on it.
Yeah, exactly. Sergeant Pickles, the odd puck handling and frustrating easy turnovers are still a problem. A lot less odd man or breakaways, though. Yeah, still, when they happen, though, boy, they burn us.
Oh yeah.
But yes, the puck handling and stuff, and like the passing tonight, I thought was way better. All four forward lines looked like they were rolling the whole game for the most part.
Yeah. Aside from that ugly stretch, all four forward lines had it going.
Yeah. Autumn likes Forsland and JT, and also JT will get a lot better. Broadcasters have much longer careers, and it can take a while to get chemistry with your partner. Agreed. Joey doesn't. Can't stand JT. Autumn, yeah, the Kraken were projected between like 55 and 75% playoff chances by most sites. Yeah, we had a lot of talk about the Kraken's playoff chances before the year versus
Oh yeah.
now and stuff. Rexology, thank you so much for the super chat. Came on after watching 2 periods, expecting to have a therapy session. Excited to see the third after the post game show. Yes, it's a good one, Rexology. I mean, I talked about it a little bit earlier, RJ. That like one of the best periods the Kraken have played all season.
For sure. I mean, and especially following up that after that second period. I mean, it's just a whole other team. It was great to see.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Rexology, again.
Yeah. Autumn, the goaltending being the woat has really killed us. Totally agree. I assume that's worst of all time.
Yeah.
It's been bad. Joey, feel sorry for John having to carry JT every night on Root Sports, though. Wow, all the JT hate.
Wow.
Surprised.
Okay. I didn't even know. I didn't
Surprised.
know people thought that way. It's
Uh,
been a while since I've listened to. Although I was
yeah,
more toward the middle in the press bridge a couple games ago, and actually I was like right in front of him, so I could just hear John the whole time. I got the live call. It was kind of cool.
yeah, that is nice. Autumn, I'm down to sell assets. Tank games are still fun to watch, and I don't really see this core competing for a cup. Yeah, that was the other talk earlier. You missed a lot of stuff earlier, RJ.
Sorry, guys.
Your thoughts?
It
Because
was not. Let me say, it was not worth it for the Zoom pressers. Those are terrible.
they are bad. I was on that morning one with you. It was not great. Um, let's see. The great news is that goaltending is voodoo. That is true, Alex. At any time, it can turn around. We saw that earlier. Let's see. Superfly. It's nice to have depth, but it still doesn't make up for the lack of quality on offense. That's why most teams score on us with less shots, and we lose games while out shooting others. Yeah, but like there's nights like tonight, like the first period tonight, where we had a lot of like grade A chances, and I feel like it was just Elvis being awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean he made some really great saves, and I mean he's a good goalie.
Yeah, he is. Kraken have the worst save percentage in the league, dead last at 869. Yeah, so my thing earlier, RJ, when we were talking about Grubauer and stuff was, look, at some point as you get deeper into the season, it starts becoming more of a problem, and you run out of excuses, right? We're 27 games into the season, the team save percentage should be above 869.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's one thing to have a rough stretch early in the season, especially maybe on an expansion team. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, the problem also is that you've kind of had to rely on just one goalie. The whole
Mm-hmm.
point in having a good tandem is if one guy runs cold, you can reliably go to another guy who should be doing better. They just haven't had that this season, and it's kind of the injury's fault.
Agreed. Now, I definitely want your opinion on this from Alex. I would rather have a good team with bad goaltending than a bad team with good goaltending. One is much more easily fixable in the long term.
I certainly agree with that last part. Fixable in the long term. I think the bad goaltending is going to hurt you more in the short term, but it's more fixable in the long term because
Hmm.
I think you can just generally find goalies that'll kind of play to that average level. If you just kind of cycle through them enough and play the hot hand.
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders have been doing that for like a decade now.
Yep.
And certainly the post Rask Bruins to some extent, I feel like, too. Let's see. Autumn, Grubauer is twice as bad as the second worst goaltender in goals saved above expected per 60. Lol. It's not pretty. And it's
Oh.
I really thought it was all gonna rebound, come game 27, but here we are.
Yep.
St. Louis always getting thrown around, even though they're the exception to everything normal in the NHL. Also, even while they were last for a moment, they were never the worst team. That's Superfly. Yeah, no, they weren't the worst team, but they were last in the standings. And I think in the NHL, is the NHL is the one league where you can throw around things like teams being bad and getting hot and going on stretches, because the NHL, game by game is the one that relies most on luck over any other
Yep.
sport. And certainly in this cap era that has started really around 2010, we've seen that teams, you just have to make the playoffs and then anything can happen. You and I, right? We grew up in Southern California during both those Kings runs. Eighth seed to win the Stanley Cup, right? Like, they were built for the playoffs and they were built for that. They were not built for the regular season. And in some ways, I see shadows of that with this Kraken team.
Absolutely. I mean, those Kings just barely squeaked in. But you look what happens when they get there. Yeah, there are some teams that are built differently. And also the other thing is, one, the randomness of hockey, and two, the fact that so much of it can be aided by a goalie getting hot. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the other, like, we saw
Yes.
another example. I'm thinking back, the Ottawa Senators with Andrew Hammond,
Mm-hmm.
just like this Noah just getting hot like that and going on a run and bringing them into the playoffs.
Right. I mean, was that the year they came one game? It was Game 7 or whatever against the Penguins to go to the Stanley Cup final.
Was that year?
I don't think it was
I don't
that
know.
year, but that had to be the case that year too, because it's the
Yeah.
Senators. um, the point is, we've seen bad teams go on playoff runs. It happens,
Yes.
and we've seen good teams barely make the playoffs and then be good in the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
it's the NHL. Hockey's random. Stuff can happen. Hunter Grew just doesn't make big saves. It's that simple. Yeah, I mean, or sometimes the easy ones. It's all in how you think about them. Michael, I'll be at the game Wednesday versus the Ducks, right behind the goal. Hopefully the Kraken light the lamp plenty. I will be there, and I believe Jagar, who's usually a regular in these chats, will be there as well. So, keep an eye
Oh,
out,
cool.
Michael. Striatic, just by eye test, Grubauer frequently loses his angle. He's over tracking the puck. Yeah, I mean, for a guy that is normally a reliable, like, I'm just going to be solid positionally kind of guy, we've talked about
Yeah,
this before, RJ. There have been times, certainly these last couple games, where that's been a little iffy.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to see the team come out hot tonight. That's from Autumn. It's so nice. Oh my god, that was so, like,
Yeah. Love the start. Love the start.
saw it and I was like, oh, we're gonna be fine tonight. So I get maybe I spoke a little too soon tonight, but it was
Had
still good.
everything but the goal. That's what it was.
Agreed. Joey, I hope our number one pick, Maddie, is in Seattle soon. Yeah, I mean, we'll see when Michigan season's over what's going on with the Kraken and what their position is and everything.
Yeah. That'll
Um,
be exciting to watch.
yeah, Joey, 0-3 in overtime needs to be fixed. All right, I'm gonna reference St. Louis, but not the St. Louis team that we've been talking about. I'm gonna mention the Blues from last season. Right? They had, I think, in 56 games, they had, I believe, 15 overtime losses, and they made the playoffs last year, right? Because of that.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's, yes, 0-3. We could talk about that being a problem in overtime. I'm not too worried about it, and they are points. They do matter.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
getting there is important, and eventually overtime, there's a randomness to it. The wins will come if you get there often enough.
Exactly. I wonder if there needs to be a goaltending coach change. Totally serious. Grew is having technical issues and they aren't getting fixed. Is our goalie coach so great we can't try something new? That's from Striatic.
I mean, it's a good question. Funny enough, tonight actually, the goalie coach Andrew Allen came down onto the bench with Jay Leach missing because of COVID, so he was down on the bench where he's usually not tonight. But yeah, I mean, if these numbers continue over the course of the season, it's something I think the Kraken have to look into, because that would be a case of all the goalies performing historically worse than they have over their career with a new goalie coach. It's still kind of early, in the season, because those relationships take a lot of time to kind of build up and get everything down. But yeah, it's certainly not a good start. And if it continues at the end of the season, you got to look at that.
Yeah, and then Alex with the question, we have a goaltending coach?
Yes, we do.
Joey, I don't look at getting a point as a positive. We still lost. Yes, but we could have lost without a point. And I guess that would be my answer to that. Is it in some ways it's a perspective thing, and it's also in how you lose. The fact that they came back in this game after being so bad in the previous two games, I think that matters too. Like, I think there's a little bit more to it than just getting the point. I think it's also about looking at the trajectory and momentum of the team and everything. Would love to see our goalie coach go. Clearly hasn't been doing very well. Lol, that's from Autumn. Alex overtime Kraken. Seattle can't fire Hackstall. You don't fire a new coach of a new team 25 games into the season. I agree with that from Seattle
No,
Sasquatch.
you don't.
Mojo sadly lost his man, and now we are sad. That's from Alex. Yes.
Yeah.
We have the goalie coach, Robin Leonard, called out for mistreating him in Buffalo. That's from Striatic.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I did too. There might be something there. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Let's see. At this point, this is from Sergeant Pickles. At this point, Emerald City Dance Party Therapy and Coffee House Chat don't cover this scenario.
I
We
know.
just have to
Well,
keep
it's always
adding new ones.
Emerald City, meh.
Yep, it's
But
Emerald
it
City.
didn't even
Meh.
feel like that. Go to overtime.
Well, and
Did
yeah,
you say your poem? Did you do your poem already?
no, I didn't. Thanks for reminding everybody. I mean,
Sorry.
you have to have a poem too. I didn't have anything good. There was something like, uh, you know, at least we didn't start off slow. By the time we made the red light glow, like you know.
Okay, here I'll hop in. I got a quick limerick together while waiting for Hackstall to come in
All
for the
right, here we
presser.
go.
Let's see if I remember it because I wrote it down and now I can't go get it on my phone because it's our camera. So let's see. Started the day without Yanni Gord. Couldn't come back from down 1-4. Why is hockey so mean? Thank you, Jake Bean. Those Zoom pressers, please, no more.
Yes, I like that.
There we go.
That was very good. Everybody, give him some props in chat. Um, There's your cheerful poem, Alex. I mean, well, maybe it's not cheerful, but there's your poem, Alex. Superfly heard the Avalanche's goalie coach said Grubauer was a guy he had to work most with, and even brought in a mental coach to help with confidence. Also said that Grubauer identifies his mistakes and fixes them. I certainly believe that last bit. Like Grubauer seems like the kind of guy that is, going to look at things and try to fix it.
For sure. I mean, he's a very, very smart goalie and person. I mean, he thinks the game at a very high level, and he's super analytical, and he's that mental side is very important for him.
Agreed. Sorry for the jingling, everybody. I put a nice little holiday tag on Afra's collar, so as she's itching and maneuvering her bedding underneath the desk, it's jingling. Emerald City Apathy, I like that. Let's see. I'm not there yet. I'm more Emerald City. Why did I get my hopes up? That's from Sergeant Pickles.
Oh boy.
Yes. Let's see. Some more talk about the goaltending coach and whatnot. So Striatic basically asked, do we have a good enough goalie coach to keep up with Grubauer if he's a little high maintenance or something? Superfly responded that you just need to show Grubauer film and he identifies the mistakes and fixes them. Gotta hope he does so here as well because we need him to. Let's see. Yeah, and some more talk about potentially change due to the save percentage issue and everything. Have you talked about the poor kid True literally getting whacked by the goalie? So is that legal to do? Haha, that's from Cameron.
Yeah, have we covered that incident yet, or have you?
No, I have not. It had not come up.
Okay, so Merzlikins has the puck, kind of in his chest. He's got
Yeah.
it covered. True does take an extra kind of poke or two at it. Goalies usually aren't going to react kindly to something like that. So I understand the penalty on True. Elvis gets his stick out and gives him a nice couple hacks in the back of the legs. Got him real good.
Mm-hmm.
Usually in those situations, they'll grab both guys, or they'll take someone for the goalie to serve the penalty. But usually they'll get them both. Not always, but usually. In that case, I guess they just kind of decided not to. It's one where the ref probably tries to set a tone, like, okay, we're not going to be touching the goalie past the whistle here. This is the message I'm trying to send.
Right. What's interesting is, watching the replays of it and everything. I think the ref was going to let it all go until Merzlikins starts that, because that's when he raises his hand, is like after the third or fourth whack by him, and that's
Interesting.
and all the Blue Jackets jumping true at that point and stuff, and that's when
Yeah.
he raised his hand, and I think he did that to settle things down because it did not escalate the way you and I have seen situations like that escalate before, and so
Right, and it's true. I mean, that it's good management, I guess, in that way too. Because I think if had nothing been called on either side, things probably get taken care of again more in the players' hands, and
yeah,
you don't really want to see that.
exactly, and the NHL's had issues with that recently.
Yeah.
But yes, I think he was initially going to let True get away with it until he saw the response from Columbus, and then he was like, "All right, I got to nip this in the bud." Um, so that was just something interesting I noticed watching it. Was yeah, his hand doesn't go up until very late after things are all said and done, which made me
Yeah.
think, okay, he's going to give it to both. Like
Right. That's
after
yeah. I
seeing
thought
the
they were both going to
response.
go after. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he thought that Columbus wasn't going to take too kindly to that, and things might escalate from there. So um, it's all right. They killed off the penalty, although I think that took some out of them, killing off those
Yeah, I
penalties, and
agree.
that's what led to some of those chances later. Alex Francis teams have always had awful goaltending, going back to his Carolina days.
That goalie carousel, man.
It was rough. Sandpipes. Just a note: Calgary went 1-5 in overtime games before they won 2 games in 2 games on shootouts, then promptly lost another. I feel like it's okay to not win in overtime, but getting to overtime when you're behind is more important. Salvaging a point when you are going to get no points is important. I 1,000% agree with that.
Yep. Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah. Ty, this is from earlier. We just got to it. Maybe I should wait for RJ, but it sure sounds like the crowd is way louder now.
Okay, tonight it was absolutely so loud. I mean, certainly as the comeback was happening, but even in moments before that, like tonight's crowd was awesome. Like kind of another level above these last few games.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Joey reiterating, don't look at getting to overtime as a victory. I mean, plenty of people share that sentiment. You're not alone on that one, Joey. I don't agree with it, but yeah, it's certainly valid in some ways. The Sandpipes, the Capitals also went 0-6 before winning 2 overtime games and shootouts. It's 3-on-3 overtime is so fluky. Like
It's
it's
weird,
hard to
man.
judge. Hunter's asking for our 3 duds tonight. I think Grubauer's got to
Uh,
be there.
yep, I was gonna say Grubauer's one.
Uh,
Um,
who else on
let's
defense?
see.
I mean,
Yeah,
you just pick
no,
all 3 guys out there on overtime for that goal. Really,
yeah,
Johansson,
yeah, yeah.
Alexiak, and Wenberg.
Yep, throw him in there for that. Yep,
That's what I would
that's
do
a good one.
personally. Yeah, Dunn is hard because he had some defensive issues, but he also tied the game. So like, what do you do there?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Not to put you both on the spot, but do you consider yourselves all in Kraken fans? I know you'll always have love for your first teams, but just curious how that has happened. It's from Sergeant Pickles. Well, because we just played the Penguins, I'll take this first. I found myself
Yep.
100% rooting for the Kraken in that game, which I wasn't expecting to find myself in. I think so many of the Penguins teams that I was super, super diehard for, so many of those guys have moved on over the years and stuff. Even the Stanley Cup game you and I were at, right? That was 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago now. So it's been a
Yep.
while. So I think so I thought about it after that game, and the next day I was like, wow, I was kind of surprised how much I was really rooting for the Kraken and how disappointed I was when the Penguins came out and, scored those 3 quick goals. And I think the bottom line is, I'm always going to be like a Sid and Gino fan, and Flowers always going to have a special place in my heart, and Tanger and those guys. But as they get older and move on, and the depth guys that I grew up watching really consistently and rooting for, as they're not there, I think that's helped make the transition to like full on Kraken fan a lot easier.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a good answer. And I guess I'm going to have a similar kind of real life test coming up this week
Mm-hmm.
or next week with the Kraken playing the Sharks. But I found myself kind of in a similar situation. I think I'm kind of attached to those players from those real core years where I grew up, and a lot of those guys have moved on in San Jose's case. Like I will always be a huge Joe Thornton fan. Like Joe Pavelski, those guys that just kind of aren't around in San Jose anymore. But yeah, I just haven't found myself as really attached to this year's Sharks team. They're kind of hard to like, honestly, outside of a couple guys. And it's not even really win loss a conflict of interest for me, even because I think at this point, losing is probably in the Sharks' best long-term interest. So, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, no, I consider myself pretty all in on the Kraken.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially going to these games like regularly, like just I don't know. I get a lot more excited over when the Kraken do something really great and this comeback and everything than if I had, seen the Sharks do that last night.
Yeah, and again, like I was saying at the start, everybody, I don't think I've ever watched the first 27 games of one team's season before. Like doing that for this and doing all these post games and stuff, it has made me so much more emotionally invested in this team
Yeah.
a lot quicker than I thought would happen.
Yeah,
And
and
in
being this close also to the players and coaches every day, and just think
Mhm.
this is a really great locker room and great guys, and they're all friendly and they seem to like each other too. It's just it's a really great environment, and that's from what I gather not always the case.
Mhm.
In other places and other times, but it's a really easy group to root for sure too.
Right, and we're gonna get to see how you handle that Sharks stuff on Tuesday, especially because RJ, that's going to be
Yes,
our one of our live game commentaries for this month. If you're a Patreon member at that highest tier, get ready for that one because Tuesday night we're doing the live game commentary. So I hope you all join us for
absolutely.
that.
It's going to be a fun time, that's for sure. I'll know a lot kind of on both sides. We'll get some opinions flying, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean that's why we picked it. We knew it was going to be fun for you to be around. Um, Alex, it's certainly easier when your favorite team is in the other conference. Yes, I will say that about the Penguins. It is easier. We're 10 points out of wild card, and it will get worse. Kraken might not win again for a while. Next beatable team is Arizona on the 21st. That's from Joey. To that, Joey, I will say Arizona might be the only unbeatable team for the Kraken, and the Kraken apparently can only beat good teams, so maybe that means we're actually in
Yep.
for a winning streak here.
After that last run of wins against those top teams, I don't think we can talk about beatable, not beatable anymore.
Exactly. Rexology, I really like the true Donato Donskoy line. I've only watched through the second. Yeah, no, both bottom six lines for me were outstanding tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was impressed with that line, especially with True coming in and centering it. That's not an easy job. And I thought Donato and Donskoy gave him some great support as well.
How awesome would it be if that line stays together for that Sharks game?
Yes, the all shark line. The all shark line. I want to see it stay together. That would be great.
I hope so
Triple
too.
revenge game.
I hope so too. Sergeant Pickles, 3 duds, turning the game off at 4-1, then back on at 4-2, thinking Donskoy finally got one and being convinced that they were going to exact revenge for their first overtime loss. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We already covered that one, but I'm sure
One day.
you were like practically
Yeah,
jumping up and down too.
I know.
Alex, wasn't Voracek
Yeah.
available for Philly from Philly too? He strikes me as a better version of Donskoy. That contract though.
The contract. You do not want that contract. He's
Yeah.
had a great resurgence in Columbus this season. I
Mhm.
will say that, but that contract is tough. He essentially kind of had negative value at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. We have what 7 million in cap space now. I mean, that's that contract. So,
Yep, the whole thing.
yep.
I think eight something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's huge. The difference of that over, just a replacement level it basically eats through all that space. On the expansion draft, even if they didn't want Domi, you had the option to try to flip him to a team for something, not an option you had with Bayreuther. I agree with that, Rexology. We've talked about that. I'm sure you agree too,
Yeah.
RJ. Why
Yep.
is why is Tanev not an automatic on the first or second 3-on-3 line? You would think his speed and tenacity forechecking would be perfect for overtime. That's one where I think you generally, with the time and space, that you want someone who's maybe a little more creative, and a little more skilled.
Yeah, agreed. And the creativity, especially like no knock on Tanev, but like he's very much a straight line kind of player, and that's what we love about him. He's just straight to the puck, straight to the net. But in overtime, you want guys who might kind of turn around, take another look, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then Ty agrees with the Sandpipes there. Gord is as well, but we see Sandbag Wenny instead. Wenberg just doesn't show hustle too often, drives me nuts. Lol. I mean, speed isn't really a part of his game.
No, it's not.
But yes, I
But he
mean,
does have that vision that in 3-on-3 can create some plays.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
playmakers are important, and he certainly is that.
but maybe needs to already be kind of set up in the zone is the only thing there. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. It's
He's
once
not
you get possession, get that cycle going.
three
Yeah.
on three. A lot is about quick transitions, and he's maybe not best
Yep.
suited for that. Sergeant Pickles, I'm just waiting for all these moral victories to turn into consistent real life ones. Agreed.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes. Grubauer is vulnerable on the 6 hole as well. That's from Gregory. Yeah, I mean he's vulnerable there. He's vulnerable 5 holes. Kind of shown,
The way
it's
he's playing
been
right
leaky
now, there's just
everywhere.
a lot of yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy can't wait to get back on the road. Agreed. Get a split this week, that's for sure. Agree with that one. Agree that overtime seems perfect for Tanev. That's from Autumn. Superfly Dylan. We're absolutely settled with Grubauer for 5 more years. If he turns it around, we've got our number one goalie. And if he doesn't, absolutely no one will take that contract. I agree with that. I didn't think I said anything to the
You're
contrary
just
there.
subjected like saddled as the
Yeah, I
negative
guess
connotation
so.
there.
Yeah. But again, I mean, we've seen goalies go all over the place, resurrect careers seemingly out of nowhere. And I don't know. Again, I was just saying, I'll always have a spot in my heart for Fleury.
Mm-hmm.
there's an example of someone who did it very late in their career too. So that's I guess why I have hope. You're not going to the playoffs unless we get some hot goalies. Agreed. That's what
Yep.
it's going to
Need
take.
that.
Valentina was on my own at the game today. It was great to be able to engage the ECH on Twitter during the game. Awesome.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I liked a lot of comments there. Yeah, that was good.
yeah, it's good. Autumn, for a new fan, all goalies look amazing compared to ours. Lol. I mean, I will say, like, guys seem to step it up for these Kraken games. Like, we've seen some goalie performances from goaltenders that you and I have watched for years, and they look like absolute studs out there against this
Like, when
team.
did they get this good? Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. I thought our transition game was much better tonight, and to me, that looked to be caused by one of our forwards initiating the breakout with a pass to the red line, as opposed to our D-men doing it. Yes, and that was part of the forwards back checking so much. They were there to all kind of join rushes together, move as a unit, instead of having one or two guys way up at the blue line waiting for a pass. They're stalled out. The defense has time to react. Like, that is part of it, of having those forwards back and helping out, is once that turnover happens, everybody can kind of engage together. Jay Free, Adam Larson was fantastic tonight. He was good tonight.
How about that one he like pulled off the line, to stop that wraparound? That was great.
Uh-huh. The Hamburglar was so much fun. Wow, that's how far we are in chat. Chat's
Oh
been
wow, we
going
are way
off.
far behind.
Chat's been going off
Man.
tonight though. It's been fun though.
Cool. Thanks for bearing with us, chat.
Yeah.
It's a lot to get through.
I agree with Larson. Without him, they'd have scored 6. Question on the first period. True slash on Merzlikins. He was slashing at a loose puck, then Merzlikins slashes him thrice after. I know, protecting the goalie, but did this seem a strange call? Well, we already kind of answered
Yeah,
that one.
we covered that.
Yeah, a lot of people, some talk about that. Then Tanev later in the period tapped Elvis's pads a few times, which I thought was funny. I did think that was funny, but he made sure to tap the pads, which generally is okay. People thinking that should have been a penalty, kind of penalties for both guys. Hey guys,
Right,
I'm relatively new to hockey. Set me right if needed, but is Gru really bad? If yes, do we have options? He's bad right now, but again, as we've been saying, goaltenders go through hot and cold streaks. It's totally possible that he figures things out and gets better.
Yep.
But no,
As always, the simplest and best option is to just get things right with him, rather
yeah,
than having to go somewhere else off the team,
or hope
get
that
Drieger going. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, hope Drieger's really at 100%. Let's see. We need RJ to give a crowd energy score after every game.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
That'd be tough. Because there's moments, I mean, it can be situation dependent, but this one would be very high. I can say that much.
Mm-hmm. Now here's all the stuff about the poems. Jay Free, roses are red, violets are blue. Our overtimes suck. What can you do? Like that one.
There you go.
Striatic, reminding everyone to like the stream. Thank you, Striatic. Did a pretty good job with that tonight, I think. Dylan, we will have to join you on opponent's broadcast. Switch from root at 4-1. Then we came back to tie. Something to your strategy. That's from Hockey Mom. Maybe.
All right.
Maybe we got to go back
There
to
you
that.
go.
I've been on route the last couple games after that Penguins game. I was like, ooh, got to get out of that one.
Yeah.
The puck had popped up on the true thing. It was still in his chest and falling back to the glove, but was technically loose puck. Yeah. When are ticket prices going down after the trade deadline? Maybe because we're a seller. They're not going to go down this first season.
No, they're not. Only for certain games that are maybe midweek. Like the Winnipeg game actually had some cheaper ones. That's because it's on a Thursday night, kind of a
Yeah.
Winnipeg's not too flashy an opponent, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Sergeant Pickles, considering it as 4-1, this felt far more like 1 point gains. Totally agree, Sergeant Pickles. That's how I'm
Yeah.
taking it. Yeah, I agree. I also have two other teams. There's always a weird internal competition sometimes. It's Grizz Smash talking about that, it is rough. It is rough at times. Reminding our hosts to plug the merch. We like most nice shirts will be a boost. Yes, so I did see on Twitter people are starting to get their orders from like Black Friday and stuff. It's been really awesome to see
Yes,
everybody showing them off on Twitter and stuff. And yes, I did fail. We've been so bad at this, RJ. We've been such bad YouTubers.
I
My
know.
my mom literally made me this index card with all of the reminders. So everybody, make sure to like the stream, subscribe if you haven't already, leave comments on videos like that Beniers video. That really helps that stuff a lot. As
Yeah,
always,
go
check
watch
out our
that if you haven't.
as always, check out our merch. It's in the links in the description below. There might still be time to get it with standard shipping before Christmas, I think, Teespring. It's kind of getting close
Yeah,
though.
kind of close, but yeah.
Patreon link is also in the description. As we said, the first game we're doing the live commentary is this week, and then also at the end is next Tuesday for that Sharks game, and
Yeah.
then at the end of next week will be the second of our Patreon exclusive podcasts. I know a lot of people said a lot of really nice things about the first one we did, and then as always, thank you everybody for
Yeah.
being here. How was
It
that?
sounds like a pretty good time to sign up for the Patreon right now. You got the stuff coming.
Right, and then there is going to be some more stuff added to that. You and I have to figure out like exact timings and stuff, but there is
Yes.
more that we're working on for it too. Let's see. I have a stupid company holiday party on Tuesday. Don't want to give up my sharks ticks. Chat, should I get food poisoning and leave early? That's from Valentina. That's Stratic right away. Leave early and tell everyone why. If they look at you funny, you're at the wrong company.
There you
Um,
go. That's how you know the right people will be around. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I've watched the Habs almost my entire life. Even Price has some massive duds. It's from Grizz Smash. It's just what happens with goaltenders. Hey guys, big fan of the team, and you guys keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I'm Beans. Sandpipes. Hey, at least they made Merzlinkins look mortal today. Scored 4 after only scoring 1 last time they faced him. Totally true.
Yep. They
Got
broke through.
revenge. Yep. Last call for comments. Great stream, guys. And good night, everyone. That's from Sergeant Pickles. Thank you so much. Valentina, speaking of the Patreon, I thought there was going to be a free shipping tier. Oversight or change of plans? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, the tier it comes. We did 10% off the total purchase instead of the free shipping. We found that like on for some of the purchases, yeah, that saves you more. We kind of like did the math on it, and certainly if you're getting stuff from more often, as because we plan on having more newer merch come out, everything over the long run, we figure that's gonna save people more. So that's kind of the decision. But there is that 10% off code for all merch, and that just goes through the whole time. Anything you get.
Yeah, and as always, if you guys need help with anything on the Patreon, just hit us up on Twitter, and we'll help you out as best
Yeah,
we can.
absolutely. Yep, for
Um,
sure.
all right, so that's it. We made it through. Great game tonight, RJ. No, didn't get the 2 points, but got one, got the comeback, and we didn't look, we looked a billion times better than we looked in the previous 2 games, and that's really what's important.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it felt like it was going to follow that script, the sad script again, and we saw something different. So I was happy to see it and grateful to be here. Crowd was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As always, we will see you next Tuesday for that Sharks game. Should be a lot of fun. All right. Bye.